Right, this is a short video about how to get the most out of your little 125. They're a little bit, they can be a bit frustrating, can't they? And rather than getting a bigger bike which weighs more, I really love little bikes. They're great, but they can take a bit of maintenance. So what I'm going to say is 10 things that to consider when you're looking at your Mutt. Once I've done those 10 things, they're all kind of maintenance-y based. And then I'm going to talk about 5 things that you can do that are actual modifications, things that you can change to make it quick. When I got this bike, it was happy at probably 55 miles an hour. Now it will just about get to 75, which GPS tested 75. So yeah, it makes a big difference looking after them and tweaking them. What I say that is, if you've got a bike that is a sort of Suzuki, like this is a Suzuki GN based, GN 125 based Mutt. This is if you're limited to 50 miles an hour and that's the maximum you can do in it, you know, if at 50 it's shaky and it's unhappy, then there's 3 culprits for that. The first is the European emissions laws. I've got a lot of time for them. You know, I think we should have emissions laws, and you know, I like to breathe clean air most days, so yeah, I'm all for the emissions laws, but it does mean that our bikes get a bit slower. So we'll talk about that. The second culprit is often the manufacturer will have to make difficult decisions about saving budgets and stuff, and so they do things they can do things for budgetary reasons rather than performance reasons, which is understandable. The third culprit, if your bike is shaky, the culprit is you. Unfortunately, that's the sort of tough bit of news, is that we are responsible. If your bike's shaky, then it's to do with how you're maintaining it or not maintaining it. Stuff that I use, acetone. This is stuff for getting things off. Acetone, electrical contact cleaner, engine degreaser, really useful that for cleaning chains, and WD-40. I use it as a cleaner. Or to like loosen things up. It's not a lubricant. Don't think of it. It's not like maintaining a bicycle. Don't use it as a lubricant. And then so that's those 4 things are for getting stuff off. Acetone's great for like cleaning brakes and stuff. And then for putting things on, like to look after it. Chain wax, you'll need something to protect the chain properly. Particularly through the winter months, I use ACF 50, which is like amazing stuff. That's really good. It can make the bike go a bit gacky, so it can be a bit, you know, it's not like shiny and clean, but it protects it, which is what you need if you've got a sort of cheapish 125. And the third sort of slightly unusual thing I use is I use gun oil on the exhaust, because gun oil is, I happen to have some gun oil, and yeah, gun oil is designed to operate at slightly higher temperatures for understandable reasons. I don't have guns, but it's a long story. So yeah, those things that I suggest. So first of all, the 10 things to consider. First off, get your bike and just roll it back and forth like that. Roll it back and forth. It should be easy. If it's not easy to do that, roll it back and forth a couple of meters. If you're having to push it, then you've probably got a binding brake, so that's something to get looked at. That was the first thing. Second thing is yeah, tyre bulges. You know, in the when you do the CBT and they say check your tyres for bulges and ridges and stuff, have you actually done that? Have you actually checked your tyres? You haven't, have you? So yeah, do that. Check your tyres properly. If you've got a shaky bike, it'll be that. It'll be dodgy tyres. And the tyre pressure as well. So when I bought this bike, I said to the guy, are the tyres the right pressure? And because I had to ride it home. And he went, yeah, they're right. And he squeezed it with his hands. And I was like, that's not how you check tyre pressure. You don't squeeze it with your hands. You need get a cheap tyre pressure tool. They're accurate and they're dirt cheap. There's no excuse for not checking your tyre pressures. When I got the bike home, having bought the bike off him, he was a lovely guy. He was a really nice guy, but he obviously didn't maintain it properly. When I got the bike home, I checked the actual tyre pressure and they were at 3 psi. 3. Unbelievable. So they were basically flat. So yeah, if your bike's only doing 50 miles an hour, it's probably because it's got flat tyres. So check that. Third thing is balance your wheels. So there's really good YouTube videos about just taking your wheels off. I mean, I use this thing. These are quite affordable. They're what's it called, a paddock stand, or you can use a scissor jack. They're like 10 quid, and you just put it under the front and lift it up. Anyway, find a way of lifting your bike and take the wheels off one by one and balance them. Balanced wheels makes a huge difference, especially if you're trying to improve the performance of your bike and it hasn't got balanced wheels. You're just going to set yourself up for a world of pain. It's just going to be uncomfortable to ride, and the bike's going to be unhappy. It's going to be like so yeah, sort out your wheel balancing. Fourth thing, chain. Chain, obviously, like in the CVT, it does make a huge difference. So don't just look at it and check the how much it moves. Look after it. I take my chain off. Learn how to take your chain off if you don't already know how to do that, and give it a bend. Each thing you should be able to bend it kind of just 70 or 80 degrees each link. And if it's a huge effort to do that, then consider the chain has to go around the front sprocket and then straighten out, so it's constantly, each link is constantly bending and going back. So if your chain's getting hot, it's because it's just full of crap basically, and that's where get some degreaser, clean it properly, dry it out, and then if you've still got joints that take a lot of effort to bend, then think about replacing the chain. But yeah, look after your chain, makes a big difference. I use an O-ring chain. I would definitely recommend O-ring chains. They actually reduce vibration as well as helping the bike be a bit quieter and run a bit smoother. All of these things are all about making the bike as smooth as possible, because smooth means fast. Any shakiness is just a waste of energy, and that's what we're kind of trying to do in maintaining any bike. There's loads of videos, millions of videos on YouTube about people maintaining bikes, and it basically comes down to reducing the vibration, reducing the thing from shaking around. Anyway, so that's the chain. Front sprocket, yeah, so you can change, so the front sprocket, there you go, there's one. The front sprocket, just by changing that up by one tooth, you're changing the gearing. Oh look, that's the original. That's the original one for this bike. That's for a different bike, but that's the original 13 tooth sprocket for this bike. This bike's now on a 15 tooth because it was maxing out at about 65 miles an hour, and I was like, it's got more like ability to go faster in it. It's just that it's hitting the rev limits. So that's something to consider. That's an easy thing to swap. I think on this one you need a 27mm socket to undo the big nut that swaps that out, but that's something you can think about. Sixth point I want to make is just about vibration. So I've replaced the suspension on this one, and it makes a massive difference. So if you think of it in terms of, if your bike is shaking, or if you sorted the wheels out and the bike is still like, every bump is like really lumpy. I've got the original suspension here somewhere, but the original suspension that came with this was completely useless. It did nothing. And what that means is, because the whole bike is shaking, that takes energy. So every little pothole you go over, every bump in the road, it takes energy to shake you like that. And that's energy that's wasted. So if you think of it in those terms, actually getting decent suspension on it, I think this suspension was like 110 quid or something, so it's not like a very expensive upgrade. But yeah, I definitely recommend that, decent suspension. If you talk to, if you go on a track day or something, so often tweaking bikes comes down to suspension and tyre pressures and stuff like that. They're really careful about all that stuff, because it makes a massive difference to how fast you can go. So also with point 6, getting rid of vibration, I would also include mirrors. So I've changed them back now, but one of the things I did with this bike was put little bar-in mirrors on it, just because it's a bit light for aerodynamics. that's a ridiculous thing to say on a 125, but it all adds up. All of these things add up. They're tiny little incremental differences, but they do add up. 7. So my 7th point in this is your exhaust gasket. It sounds really specific. It is. Where your exhaust meets your engine, just make sure that seal is really good. So start your engine and just put your hand close to where the exhaust is coming out of the sort of the head, the top of your engine. And if you can feel air blowing out of that, then you've got an issue with the gasket. The problem with that is that gives you weird readings in terms of your oxygen sensor, and that means that you'll run too rich, which is in some cases good, but it's not efficient. It doesn't help the engine be happy and run the way it wants to. So it is a waste of energy basically. Also with 0.7, I'd say the lambda sensor, the oxygen sensor, which is kind of the first sensor on the exhaust pipe, take that out, undo that, and give it a clean. I just scrub mine with like a wire brush, give it a clean. Or you can use a little bit of acetone if it's kind of gacked up. But keeping that clean will help the efficiency of the engine. Okay, so 0.8 is a slightly more advanced one, is valve clearance. Your engine works by, I'm not going to go into how an engine works, but as each cam rotates, it hits a little rocker arm that goes up and down. When your engine's running, you can hear this kind of like you can hear a kind of tapping noise. It sounds like this. No, not like that. Like that. It sounds like really fast. And what that is it's good. It's not a bad thing. But what it is the tiny little gap between the rocker arm and these things as they rotate. What you want is when the engine's warm and hot, you can barely hear that. That's what you want, because if it's too loose, then you're wasting power, and if it's too tight, then you're gonna wreck your valves. So valve clearance is all about getting that in the kind of sweet spot. I aim for, I've written it down here. Officially it's 0.05 intake to 0.08 millimeters, and the exhaust is 0.1 to 0.12 millimeters. The gap that you want. There's videos about valve clearance and stuff. I mean, I've done one. It is fairly straightforward thing to do on a bike like this. But so I personally aim for 0.0 for the minimum of those values. So on the intake, I personally, for this engine, GN125 engine, I aim for 0.05, and for the exhaust, I aim for 0.1 millimeters, because I want it like as tight as possible without wrecking the valves. Yeah, so that's a bit of a balancing act. You want to just about be able to hear that tappy noise, and then it gets quieter as the engine's warm. So that was 0.8. 0.9 oil. Oh yeah, oil, flipping out. People don't let your bike go for 10,000 miles before you change the oil. Do it. Oil's cheap. Do it. It's relatively cheap. It's a really easy job to do. There's one like bolt on the bottom of the engine. You undo it on the sump, let all the oil out, collect it properly, and glug in a new bottle of oil. It's a really easy thing to do, and it makes a massive difference to how happy the engine is. If anyone's played Gran Turismo, you'll know what I mean. Like, you know, a big part of Gran Turismo is just changing the oil in your car, your computer game car. It makes a difference, you know, and it keeps the engine happy. 10th thing, this stuff, I do actually think it works. I was very skeptical about it, but I do think it actually does clean valves quite nicely. And the other thing about this stuff is it's pretty cheap. You can get it in like Aldi or Lidl. It's that kind of middle aisle weird thing. I slosh in a bit into this. I mean, look at the mix. I slosh in a bit, especially if you're going to leave your bike over winter, or if you're going to leave it for a couple of months. Get some of that in it, because it might save you massive effort later with your fuel going off. So yeah, that was it. That was the 10 things to think about with your bike that will change performance. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you didn't enjoy it, put a really nasty comment below. That'd be really good. Don't do that. Be kind. Be nice. Why aren't we just nice to each other? Let's be kind. Let's be loving to each other. I think you look amazing this morning. I think you're thoughtful and caring, and I really admire you. That was a bit false, wasn't it? Because I can't actually see people. That was a lie. I was bad. I feel bad now. I feel bad for all of us. Oh well, that's a good way to end this video. That was it. That was the 10. Peace and love. Peace and love.